Oh, where am I? Good evening, everybody. What is that against my wall? How am I? How? uh, how just fixing things. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is well. Tim for Life's over there on YouTube, straight through the door there. Hello, Facebook as well. I've got a new apparatus. I've got new apparatus, which hopefully will make things a wee bit easier for me for comments and stuff. I've got a stand here now with the separate device for Facebook, so it means that I'm not chicken over here anymore, and I will not be cutting off the mic. Well, good evening, Chatterhouse. Welcome back. First of all, sorry about last week. I just couldn't have done it. I really couldn't have done it. There's this coldy flu thing floating about at the minute, and it's taken me nearly 2 weeks to get over it. And it's been a friggin' nightmare. It has been an absolute nightmare. You know, last Wednesday night, it was about 6:30. I was sitting doing the last preparations for this tonight. And I actually, when I was sitting here, my head hit the desk twice, not the desk, the kitchen table. My head hit the kitchen table twice, and I just says, I can't do this. I really, really can't do this. So that's why I had to cancel. So I'm really, really sorry about that last week. So consequently enough, I messed all the dates up, and I thought we had the charity, which I'm going to tell you about in a wee minute, this week, but they're actually next week. So what we're going to do is tonight we're going to continue to what we were going to do last week, which is our missing case files unsolved. I was going to say unopened. My head's away with it tonight. My head is away with it tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the roll call, but by the looks of it, it's not going to take very long to do so. I don't mind because a lot of people are watching the live broadcast now on playback because I can see the numbers the next day. So I don't really, really mind. It's not that I don't mind. It's just, it's a bit disappointing when you don't see very many people coming in. But this is the time that everybody wanted. This is the time that people voted for. So I can't do any more about it. You know what I mean? So let's do the quick roll call, and then I'll tell you about a couple of things to tell you as well. Right, so we'll go to YouTube first. Our Tim for Life over there. Where's my mouse? Not working. Oh, it's working now. Tim for Life says, evening, Stuart, and everyone in the chatter house. And when I said about the stand, he says, Stuart is getting fancy. I'm actually looking here. The delay on Facebook's actually not too bad tonight. So let's see who's in. Right. Straight through the door, the comment that was if one day I should become a singer with a Spanish bum who sings for women of great virtue. Our Jackie McFarlane, straight through the door. Next one to comment was our Michelle McGrogan, Miss Chatterhouse herself. Nice to see our Michelle. Carrie Ferguson, my local historian, is through the door. Joe, some of these people actually, Carrie, I haven't really spoke to in a way. It's just been unbelievable. Lee Godlew's in as well. He's in. Jackie said hello to Lee. And that's it. It was 11 people put their names down for coming in tonight. And where are they? You know what I mean? Tim for Life shouting Michelle. He's shouting Carrie. And he's shouting, I'm going to show you. He's shouting Michelle. Carrie. Lee. So he is. So anyway, right. Okay. First of all, this Friday night, all being well, we have an extra night on. I haven't done one of these for a while. I'm going to see how it goes. We have a Check It Out with Auntie Lillian. Wee Wees is in. Our Tracy. Tracy, you can't watch on your big TV and go into your comments on Facebook on your phone. But if you want to keep doing the way you're doing, it's entirely up to you. I don't heard you, Harry, Tim says. And our wee Wees is very nice to see you, Tracy, love. Right. So, first of all, what did I tell you? Right. Yes, this Friday night we have an episode of check it out with Auntie Lillian. We've actually just got somebody else that just came through the door. Our Izzy Douglas is in through the door. Izzy's, I don't know if Izzy came in. She said she was going to come in the other week for the witch night with you guys. Don't know if she was in or not, but if she didn't, she can still watch it back. Sorry, Izzy's into all that. Anybody who doesn't know who Izzy is, I met Izzy through TikTok. She's a TikTok creator, and her videos are absolutely amazing. And she was actually on Auntie Gillian's Puppet in Podcaster the other week. So that's our Izzy. Izzy, you're very, very welcome. And AJ Walker, I always call him AJ Walker Music. AJ Walker Music is in as well. They're all starting to fly in now. Temporarily shouting wee wigs now. Catherine Playfair is in. Hello, Stuart Love. Hello, my Catherine. Nice to see you. Right, okay. So, as I say, we're doing a Check It Out with Auntie Lillian on Friday night at 8 p.m. It's going to be live on YouTube and it's going to be live on Facebook. She's taking a break from TikTok because, after all, Auntie Lillian was created in the Chatterhouse. It was the Natterhouse then. And that's where she's coming back to. She's coming back to her roots. As he says, no, I was working. Sorry, I missed it. How did you miss it? I was like, well, Izzy, you've got a wee YouTube channel there now. You can go and have a wee drink, or you can watch it on the group. She'd be on the group for 30 days. So that's this Friday night, 8 p.m. Check it out with Auntie Lillian. And this week, this time, anybody doesn't know what Check It Out with Auntie Lillian is. Auntie Lillian checks out certain things. So far, she's Jackie's shouting Tim back. Oh, shouting, sure. Tim's shouting, is I? Oh, shouting. Right. Anybody doesn't know what checking out Auntie Lillian is. Auntie Lillian sometimes checks out some items. So far, she has checked out energy drinks. She has tried crisps. She has checked out mince pies with Dirty Dot. I don't know, there's other things she's tried as well. I can't remember. Ice cream. She tested ice cream. She didn't taste test with ice cream. But this time, it's biscuits. Simple as that, biscuits. And you know what way Auntie Lillian does it? It starts at the bottom and works up. We start off with a bourbon and we end up with an elite version of something. Oh, she's done sandwiches as well. And HJ's going Marmite poke. That was the nuts. The nuts. Yes. So start off probably with something like a bourbon, and then we'll work up the elite brands. But they are good fun. You know, it's the expression. So that's this Friday night at 8 p.m. Now, next Wednesday, I need to do this before I forget. Next Wednesday, there is a girl called Shaza. Now, Shaza is joining me next Wednesday night. And Shaza is from a charity. She has posted a few things in the group, but Shaza is from a charity called Breastmates. Now, Breastmates is a charity which was set up for people who have been diagnosed with women and men who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And Shaza is actually coming here to tell us her story about her diagnosis and what support she found was available to her at the time of her diagnosis and how Breastmates came about and the work that they do. And all I'm going to say, because it's again, it's for next week, I was shocked when I heard. I was shocked because basically there's nothing. Basically, there's no. But we'll get into it more next week. So Shaz is coming next Wednesday night. Now, one more thing. Auntie Lillian, I'm still choking. 2 weeks later, Auntie Lillian on Friday night, hopefully is going to have an announcement for the group as well. I can't say what it is, but I'm going to give you a taster. It's something to do with the name of the group, and that's all I'm saying. And it's something to do with her as well. So it's to do with the group, and it's also to do with Auntie Lillian. It has been confirmed, but just want to make sure everything goes through. So hopefully we're going to be announcing that on Friday night. So if you see a slight change in the name of the group, you'll probably understand why. And the same on Auntie Lillian's TikTok profile as well. So keep posted for that. Tim says take a drink. Tim's being very kind. Muriel Mechanic, he said, nice to see you, Muriel. You're very welcome. God, Muriel, I think this is the first time I've seen you in a live, but I think you were a long, long time ago. But you're very, very welcome. Okay, folks, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wee drink on Tim's advice. Oh, yes, by the way, folks, we're back on Monday night for our official first night. Hi on. Logan, you're not on tonight. Our book club starts on Monday night. And don't forget the book. The book is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. If anybody missed the introduction night, the video is still in the group and there's still time to get the book. Just to let you know, the book is available on Amazon at the moment. And if you have Prime, you can get it the next day. It's only £6. So we'll be starting that on Monday night. That's our book club. That's the official first night because the other night was only an introduction. Now I haven't shut my mouth and I'm only on. Right, I'm going to get a drink. Okay. So, tonight, a while back ago, a few times now, we have highlighted some cases of people who have gone missing. And these cases have never, ever been solved. And tonight, we're going to look at two. One is, the first one is about a child. And the second one is about a girl. These cases are known. The second one especially. I'm actually taking a risk doing this one, but I'm going to keep it general, so I should be all right. So let's go to the first one first of all. So, years and years and years ago, I'll get the exact year. I think it was 1977, I think it was. Down in Donegal, a family went to their relatives for St. Patrick's Day. They were having a good time. All the family was together. They were all having a party. And all of a sudden, this little girl, uncle, decided to return a set of ladders to the neighbours. Pardon me, that's because I burnt. Many diamonds CBE, royalty to the drag. Is it nice to see you, Manny? Pardon me. So, this little girl is called Mary Boy. Now, Mary Boy was a very young child. There was a load of family there that day. The house was absolutely crammed. And so, as I say, the uncle decided to return the ladders to a neighbour, and Mary Boy decided to follow him. Tim for Life says, Minnie the Beautiful. So what I'm going to do is, as usual, I have got two videos prepared here. And we're going to look at this case to see exactly what happened. This is a fascinating one because when we get into the story, there was actually certain people were around the area at the time. And one of them was a notorious child murderer. But it actually ended up that there was no proof. Thank you, Tim. It was my t-shirt. There was no proof that it was him. And that person is actually connected to a murder of a child here, actually, in Lisburn. So without further ado, what we're going to do is I'll do the usual. I will go small screen. I will bring the video up big screen, and I will pause as we go along as I need to. I have something to read out here at the end of this video, what the family said, and I'll let you make up your own mind. So here is the story of Mary Boy. I put it on this one first of all. We'll bring it up. So here we go.
Mary Boyle was born on the 14th of June 1970 in Spark Hill, Birmingham, which is located in England. She was born to her parents, Anne and Charlie Boyle, who were both originally from Ireland. The family, including Mary's twin sister, also named Anne, and her older brother, Paddy, would all move back to Ireland in Kincastle. This is in the Rosses area, around here, in County Donegal. And they made this move not long after Mary and Anne were born. It seems that the family just wanted to be closer to their relatives, as this move placed them in a rural, close-knit community where extended family visits would become much easier than while over in England. This move would also set the stage for the events to come in 1977. On the 17th of March 1977, St Patrick's Day, Mary and the rest of her immediate family drove from their home in Kincastle to visit their grandparents at their isolated dairy farm in Cashellard. This is near Ballyshannon on the Donegal-Fermanagh border. The farm was in a remote, hilly area with boggy terrain, and at that time there were no nearby telephones or modern amenities. The gathering at this rural farmhouse comprised of 6 adults and 5 children in total. The family stayed overnight into the day of the disappearance, the 18th of March 1977. The location of this farm in Cashellard is significant. Given the kind of terrain that it was situated within, it presented huge difficulties for the subsequent searches. The proximity to Northern Ireland also introduced jurisdictional complexities, as these on-the-border incidents so often do. The issue is that the centralisation of information becomes awkward, and multiple authorities have to stay in constant communication to keep things organised. The morning of the 18th began routinely, and the day went mostly as expected. Mary, who was 6 at this time, helped her mother with the dishes after the family had eaten. Afterwards, they shared a hug, and Mary left to go outside to play with her sister and the other younger ones. At the time, she was dressed in a lilac hand-knitted cardigan, brown jeans, ribbons in her hair, and black Wellington boots that were slightly too big, which were fitting for the muddy countryside. At 3:30 p.m, Mary was outside playing with the others, and at some point around that time, her uncle, Jerry Gallagher, came outside of the house to collect a ladder that he had borrowed from the Macaulays, who owned a neighbouring farm. He had intended to return it at that time, and as he set off, Mary decided that she wanted to go with him, and began to follow while eating a packet of crisps. This neighbouring farmhouse was approximately 800 metres away across the hillside up an isolated unpaved shortcut, and was a journey that would usually take around 10 minutes or less. The route across, which was practically a straight line, cut through a boggy area. At the moment of separation, the local superintendent at the time, Don Murray, stated that as Jerry and Mary proceeded down the path, they reached a pool of water or a flooded section of the lane that was too deep for her to cross without getting soaked. At this
I'm just going to pause for a wee minute because Tim's just asked me a question. Could somebody tell me roughly how far from us this would be? Because my geography is absolutely horrendous. Could somebody tell me how far roughly this would be from us, say from the Lisburn area, from where we live? Could someone let me know? Because see, my geography is absolutely horrendous. And then I'll pause it again and come back to you.
Point, which was now somewhere between 3:30 and 3:45 p.m, she had given up and turned around to head back to the grandparents' house. The separation occurred at the midpoint of the path to the Macaulays and would be the last time that she was ever seen. Jerry continued onto the neighbour's farm, where it was reported that he stopped and spoke to the Macaulays for about 30 minutes. Upon returning to the grandparents' house just before 4:20 p.m, Jerry set himself up along a wall that he'd started to fix on the property, and he got to work. It was just after 4:20 p.m. when Mary's mother had come outside to check on the young ones playing and realised that Mary was not there. Family members, including Anne, began searching the immediate area outside the property. They called out her name and checked the nearby fields, fences and hedges, but there was no trace of Mary anywhere. They didn't find any clothing scraps nor the crisp packet, and they didn't find any obvious footprints to indicate that she'd strayed away anywhere. It was noted that if Mary had fallen into a bog, the crisp packet would likely have floated to the surface somewhere later, which was never discovered. The return journey to the house should have taken her around 5 minutes, with some accounts suggesting it should have taken only about 3. She was around 400 metres away or so, since she'd only made it halfway down the path. Here's what Mary's mother said. "I looked out the front door. The rest of the children were playing in a thicket in the front garden. Mary was not there. My brother Jerry was fixing a stone wall in front of the house. I asked him if he'd seen Mary. He didn't answer. He must not have heard me. 10 minutes later, I asked, did anyone see Mary?"
I just want you to hold on to that. Now, I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not accusing anybody. But I want you to hold on to that. My brother Jerry was fixing a stone wall in front of the house, and I asked, did he see Mary? He didn't answer. He mustn't have heard me. I want you to hold on to that. Just hold on to that, please. Many thinks it's about the same distance from Belfast to Dublin. 100 miles, maybe. Sorry, Tim, you're not interrupting. This is Chatterhouse. That's what it's all about. We're here to communicate.
And Jerry shot off in his car down the road. When Jerry came back to the house, he said that she'd followed him earlier to the Macaulay's house and that she'd turned back. I got into the car and drove along the road in different directions. It was a nightmare. Before we go any further, if I could just ask you to like the video and hype it, then I would appreciate that very much. And please consider turning on notifications for the channel and subscribing if you haven't already. By late afternoon, as daylight faded, the family continued their search. With no landline available, they flagged down fishermen on the nearby loch. Jerry was searching around the area when Anne shouted for him to go and alert the Gardaí. Jerry called back for her to do it as he wanted to keep searching. In the end, one of the fishermen, PJ Coughlin, drove to Ballyshannon to alert the Gardaí somewhere between 5 and 6 p.m, around 2 hours after Mary was last seen. Panic set in as searchers, including all of the family, combed the steep, boggy terrain shouting Mary's name. An appeal for volunteers was broadcast that evening from a local theatre during a drama festival, which bolstered boots on the ground. That evening, and well into the night, the Gardaí were present and initiated formal searches. According to accounts from the original investigating Gardaí, they cited that the 2-hour delay in notifying them was crucial. It was essentially stated that losing those initial golden hours significantly reduced the chances of finding Mary, no matter of what actually had taken place, whether suffering from an accident or facing foul play. In the event of foul play, if a stranger had been nearby, for example, it obviously meant that this potential perpetrator had ample time and opportunity to cross into a nearby county or across the border entirely. When the Gardaí did arrive, they questioned family members and the fishermen, to which one of them reported seeing a suspicious red car. While I am not sure precisely what they told the Gardaí at that time, in 2016, PJ Coughlin stated that, "I believe I saw her being driven away in a car. There's no doubt in my mind that she was lifted." However, on a BBC podcast in 2019, he would change, or rather correct his statement, I guess. And he stated then that he had not seen Mary herself, just the suspicious red car. If Mary was not seen in or near the car, then I'm not sure exactly what was suspicious about it, other than it being in that exact area at that exact time. Given how isolated the area was, you'd have to imagine then it wasn't local and the people present hadn't seen it before. That would also have to have been extraordinary timing and would have required Mary to have crossed paths with the occupants. Given that the fisherman hadn't seen Mary, you can't really make definitive statements, though I can see how it would have appeared to be odd. It seems like one of those moments where a mental model has been built despite the fact that there was no real evidence to suggest involvement. In any case, one of the largest search efforts to ever have taken place in Ireland was about to begin. In the days following the 18th, the Gardaí created a filmed reconstruction of Mary's last known movements using her twin sister as a stand-in. Anne was able to successfully retrace the path from the point of separation from Jerry back to the house without any problems at all. Divers came in and started probing the locks. The entire lake at Upper Cashellard behind the grandparents' house was drained. Local neighbours, family members, many volunteers, alongside a large Gardaí presence, scoured the challenging terrain together. Strangely, not a single piece of evidence was found anywhere, and the Irish Army got involved too, and despite searching for months, still nothing was found. These search parties examined fields, hedgerows, bogs and waterways. Many of the local bogs were drained in an effort to find any hint of Mary, but it just wasn't happening. Based on the publicly reported timeline surrounding this case, it is indicated that Jerry returned to the farmhouse at around 4:20 PM or just before. This was after having been last seen with Mary sometime between approximately 3:30 PM and 3:45 PM. It has been stated in media coverage that he spoke with the Macaulays for around 30 minutes during that interval. If that is accurate, this timeline would significantly reduce the amount of unaccounted for time before the family search began, especially if the reported conversation with the neighbours lasted for around 30 minutes, which is a significant portion of that period of time. Given the rural, hilly and boggy nature of that terrain, the distance a person could have travelled on foot in that window off the path would have been very limited. Based on that timeline, it is difficult to determine how Mary could have left the area. And this is one of the aspects of the case that continues to raise questions about what happened in the minutes after her last sighting and the start of the family search. Because the scale of the search operation that took place was so large, it is understandable that people have questioned how it could be possible that Mary was not located at that time in the area. In the absence of physical evidence that would have suggested that she succumbed to the terrain, such as entering a bog, some commenters have theorised that she may have been taken from the area. The critical issue seems to be during the timeline as reported. Whether this brief window between the last sighting, the 30-minute chat with the neighbours, and then returning by 4:20 PM allowed for enough time for Mary to have been removed from the vicinity entirely. As reported by The Independent in 1999 during a conversation with Superintendent Aidan Murray, "She definitely disappeared between A and B," he said. With a puckered brow, he glanced at the damp, boggy distance between them. How could anybody dispose of a body in 20 minutes? On the day Mary went missing, there were 3 poachers illegally fishing with an otter board. These guys have eyes at the back of their heads and would have been keeping their eyes out for the Gardaí. They never saw anything that day. This is actually a good point.
Okay, folks, now we're going to come to a point. Just want to read something out here. Many say sorry to be a pain, but there's no way you could walk through a bog area because it's just too messy, slimy, and wet. Absolutely. We're going to go into a story here about someone called Robert Black. Now, Robert Black is this person who, I think I'm right, or Carrie will probably keep me right here, is connected to a murder that actually happened here in Lisburn. Horrible, horrible individual. I think he was known as the Ormeau Bakery Man because he used to drive an Ormeau Bakery van. So this is where this aspect comes into the story. So here we go.
You'd think that if there was a third party in the area and something happened, they might have heard something go down, or a scream, or something along those lines, but they didn't. Retired Garda Sergeant Martin Collins, one of the original investigators, has said that he does not believe Mary wandered off and fell into water. Because, according to him, every slurry pit, swamp, and body of water in the immediate area was drained and searched at the time. However, based on statements that Aidan Murray made, there seems to be a discrepancy here. He said, "Because we had no body, there wasn't enough to go on. We have no high-tech equipment like we have now. We were basically plumbing the depths of bogs with short sticks rather than detectors. She could have fallen into a swally hole, a big bog hole covered over with a layer of old vegetation. It floats like a mat and opens like skin. But with nothing, only this mountain. It's always interesting, or frustrating really, when you have statements like that. One suggesting a thorough search, while the other suggests prodding at bogs with sticks. I'd imagine that has to mean that bogs and such were drained in 1977 and over time in subsequent searches over the years. Because we know that the entire lake at Cachalad had been drained, I believe, in 1977. The other point in relation to the suggestion that Mary could have succumbed to the terrain is that it would have required her leaving the path. Critics and Mary's sister, Anne, argue that the path was relatively simple and that it was unlikely that Mary could have gotten lost or strayed. Again, Anne was able to navigate the return journey from the halfway point back to the grandparents' house just fine. It is just important to add that, obviously, given everything that had happened, it was hardly a natural experiment. Anne will have been aware that Mary was missing and that people were filming and just walked back. For Mary, when she was out there, I suppose one could argue that things might have been a bit more natural and she could have explored and strayed and then got into dangerous boggy territory. There's no evidence of that, of course, but it is possible.
Just going to pause for 2 seconds because there's a couple of things I want to read here. Michelle Grogan says, Guy Ferg says Robert Black was a bad bar steward, and yes, he was connected to the case of Lisburn you're talking about. Michelle said he was fully responsible for the case of Lisburn, wasn't he? The guy says yes, he was. And Minnie says basically the guards have messed up there because why would you use sticks if you said you drained the bogs? Very interesting. Now, Tim's come up with something interesting here too. Excuse me. Tim says he looks familiar. Is this the same Robert Black who murdered in Scotland too? He killed a few kids in Scotland. If it's him, yeah, it's him, Tim. It's him. Okay, so let's carry on. Just like to stop then again, read your comments because that's what it's all about. Catherine says the day the wee girl Jennifer got taken was the same day me and my brother run away. We got as far as Antrim, thumbing the left. I actually remember you telling me that story, Catherine. So let's carry on.
The years following the disappearance caused an irreconcilable schism within the family and the broader community as to what was responsible. It seems that there is a lot of ongoing debate around this. The authorities themselves treat Mary's case as an ongoing missing person investigation, and it's not clear what their suspicions might be behind closed doors. Mary's mother had consistently expressed belief that she could still be alive, citing the absence of a body or any belongings found. She had opposed public campaigns that declare Mary must have passed away as a result of foul play. The Gardaí did focus for a while on the idea that some kind of nomadic individual might have seen the moment of separation between Mary and Jerry and then took advantage of that situation, though nothing ever really came of that line of inquiry. It's also important to clarify just how isolated this area was. There were only 2 houses anywhere near one another, that being the family farmhouse and the Macaulay farmhouse. And even they were separated by about half a mile. That was about it, and civilization was largely well away from this area. It seems so drastically unlikely that anyone would have just been out and about randomly in this area, waiting for an opportunity like this. While I can't get too into the family disputes and accusations, unlike Mary's mother, Mary's sister on the other hand, alongside many commenters, believe that Mary was met with foul play by someone known to her. We also know that Mary's mother and sister had a complete cessation of contact after their differences as pertaining to their thoughts and beliefs as to what happened on that day. After the infighting that took place between members of the family, the Gardaí looked to have made a policy decision that only Mary's mother would be designated point of contact for the authorities. Many people believe that to be unfair, and believed that this was a decision that minimised Mary's sister's influence in regards to the investigation. Anne herself had expressed frustration as to not being kept informed in the same way that her mother was. In 2011, the Gardaí launched a new review into the circumstances surrounding the disappearance. It was led by a review team and headed by an Assistant Commissioner, Kieran Kenny, from the Northern region, and they were all said to be passionate about wanting to get to the bottom of this case. They conducted a wide range of interviews and further searches with the assistance of forensic experts. This work did apparently yield new evidence, though the specifics were not publicly shared. Based on whatever this evidence was in 2011, a rather major development occurred on the 21st of October 2014, where a 64-year-old man, who was already known to the authorities and imprisoned at that time, was rearrested and brought in for questioning. This was the first actual arrest in relation to Mary in the 37 years that had passed by 2014. At the time, the Gardaí expressed strong public confidence, with an Assistant Commissioner stating that the arrest had brought them one step closer to recovering where Mary had been all this time. However, the evidence can't have been that great because this arrest was short-lived. On the 22nd of October, quite literally the day after the initial arrest, the man was released from custody without charge. As a result of this, people seem to believe that this evidence must have been circumstantial, or more likely testimonial, and was completely insufficient. I'd assume it was enough to bring the man in and then hope he would have just admitted to it. You can be fairly sure that the evidence can't have been that great, since Mary's case has been in the public eye for a very long time now, and you'd have to imagine that the authorities would just love to have the case solved. In 2016, a journalist by the name of Gemma O'Doherty, whom I don't really know anything about, other than she released a 1 hour and 23-minute film going over the entire incident, which is certainly worth a watch. In the film, Mary's sister publicly supported the known perpetrator hypothesis. 2 Garda sergeants were interviewed, and one claimed that certain pressures had been exerted onto their investigation from above. He stated that he was told to ease off by a superior when questioning a man. It seems that the media and attention generated by the film prompted the Gardaí to conduct a high-profile and significant excavation near Cachalard in the same year of its release. This search involved surveying the land and digging in areas nearby the very spot that she was last seen, but the effort failed to uncover anything. This failure actually led to new speculations in and of itself, where some began to suggest that there was such a large amount of time that had passed that the body could have been moved at a later date after the original search took place in 1977. Over the years, numerous hypotheses have been put forwards in an attempt to explain what happened to Mary on that day in March of 1977.
I'll catch up in your comments in a
One
minute.
suggestion was that she may have strayed and then fell into a bog, although in that instance, you think that the search efforts might have uncovered something. Early media reports at the time of the disappearance did speculate that the cause could have been down to a natural mishap, but these thoughts generally seem to have faded away, as no clothing nor the crisp packet or anything else ever came to light. Others have speculated in regards to foul play. Mary's sister seems to believe that to have taken place in the form of someone who knew Mary, while a lot of people also suggest that an opportunistic stranger might have seen the separation and then came across Mary. The local fisherman did mention seeing a red car in the area and initially seemed to have been convinced that it had something to do with the disappearance, though did seem to walk back on that later. Given the extreme isolation of the area, many have regarded this kind of scenario as being unlikely. Like every hypothesis out there, none of them have ever been supported by evidence. We have a person that vanished without a trace, and so thoroughly that not even a single shred of evidence ever turned up to conclusively point in any direction. I would also add that if the statements made by the retired Garda officers are true regarding orders to ease off, it raises difficult questions. I can't speculate too much, but I certainly, and can only hope, that order wasn't premature or worse, and that it didn't stop evidence from arising. Almost 50 years later, what happened to Mary is still not known. There has never been any kind of trace found whatsoever, no clothing, crisp packet, or a body has ever surfaced, despite one of the largest search operations in Ireland to have ever taken place. The Gardaí continue even today and treat the case as a live missing person inquiry, and they periodically renew appeals for information. But no arrests or anything else has ever stuck, and no definitive official explanation has emerged. For Mary's mother, the absence of a body, for a time, kept a slither of hope alive that Mary was taken in 1977, and she could still have been out there somewhere. For her twin sister and many others, they pointed the finger at someone Mary knew and trusted on that remote hillside. Whatever actually happened, the disappearance of Mary Boyle on the 18th of March in 1977 shattered a family and divided a community. At this stage, it seems that if it's ever going to be understood, it's going to take someone with direct knowledge speaking up, or some random excavation uncovering something important. If you have any information, no matter how small or long ago, even if it feels irrelevant, the Gardaí still urge people to contact them, and I believe you can even do that confidentially online. That about brings us to the end of this. Please do remember to subscribe and turn on.
Okay, folks. So, very quickly, many says it's just like to say this is the first time I've heard about this case, and it's not in a big public arena, if you know what I mean. And Carrie says, I've heard of it, but I don't know if that's because it's relatively local and I just have an interest in true crime cases. And Minnie says, I love my true crime, and I've seen all sorts, especially Scottish, Irish, Northern Ireland, England, and I've heard of. Never heard of this case. Carrie says, why was the detective... Right, I'm going to read something out in a wee minute. Because Stuart's been doing a bit of digging. I've been doing the Jessica Fletcher. Why was the detective told to ease off if he was told that? Was the person they were questioning helping with other inquiries? Hold on, I've just knocked that off there. Hold on. Inquiries and crimes. Were they afraid of losing that connection for another bigger case? And Carrie says many times that's mental. What was that about? Right. And Tim says that is so sad. God love them. Right. Now I have something here that I was doing a bit of digging, right? Jerry Gallagher. Now Jerry Gallagher was the uncle who Mary followed to the neighbours. Now, once again, Stuart is not accusing anybody of anything. I'm only reading out what was printed in the newspapers and what was said. Okay. So in January 2023, Jerry Gallagher died. That's the uncle who Mary followed. Shortly after this, now I let you read your own conclusions to this. Shortly after this, a member of Mary Boy's family allegedly said that the answer to her disappearance lay within the family. And also, as Carrie was just speaking there about wives detective told to ease off, allegedly a politician allegedly rang the Garda and said that no one in Mary's family should be put under suspicion for her death if she has died or whatever. And also as well, that's when this sort of happened here about the detective easing off, told to ease off. But why? Why? This is what we need to know. Why? Why is this politician? Why did this politician do this? I also read in other snippets and bits that there was pressure from the government, and different members of politicians and stuff were involved in this. But why? As Carrie says, it's because there was something else going on. Is it because were they helping out in another case? I don't know. But this all came out after the uncle died. So I don't know. But he says, and one more thing, the red car back in the 70s weren't a big thing. So there was a red car knocking around. Hello. Yeah, absolutely, man. And Tim says, I love your historian Carrie's knowledge. Very impressed. Uh-huh. So there you go. You know, why did this happen? Why why did politicians get involved? Why were they telling the Garda to ease off? Why were they telling the Garda not to include anybody in the family as suspicious? Why? Now, and the other member of the family again saying a member of Mary Boy's family allegedly said that the answer to her disappearance lay within the family. All this can be found online, and it's not from any daft place. This has been written, you know. But at the end of the day, this is a little girl who's only a child. Don't know many. Honestly, don't know love. This is a child who didn't know any better, who didn't know anything. Where is she? And what happened to her dear lover? You know? Will we ever find out? Indeed. Okay. So I'm not taking no breaks tonight. I'm going to go straight into the next one. I hope something does eventually happen about Mary, you know, because has it been too long? Has it been too long? Uh, Many says because the government was involved, it does sound a bit fishy. And Carrie says if big wigs are putting pressure, then they're protecting someone. I know with the things like the disappeared, they offer deals and immunity for people uh, to come forward with information. The reason someone can still be prosecuted for Jean McConville, for example, is because a member of the public found her body rather than a member of the paramilitaries coming forward. As he says, if that had have been in this day, and if this had been in this day and age, the uncle would have been a prime suspect. But it's just typical of the government always being corrupt and was probably working for them, or was probably working for them. It's definitely a sad case. It's just unbelievable. Like, this is a child, a wee girl. And Joe didn't like either. He's maybe bombast me here. I know they were only trying to help, and they were only trying to, you know, get a reconstruction going to jog somebody's memory. But I wasn't very impressed that them using Mary's twin sister as a not like a decoy, but to be a part of the reconstruction. I didn't like that either. I don't know. I just felt uncomfortable with that. I just thought that was an awful lot of pressure on the little sister as well, who's just lost her sister, who doesn't know what's going on, who's not very old herself. I don't think that's right either. What do you think? Many says just one thing. Do you remember the case a couple of years ago about that wee boy in Belfast that was found in the drain? That was very suspicious. That's Noah. That's Noah Donahue. There's actually the inquest is actually going on at the moment with him. That inquest is actually happening in Belfast at the moment. Carrie says, awful sad case. A child, and to know what happened to her for some peace of mind is awful. It's just absolutely shocking. It really, I'm gonna start crying. You know me. Right. So let's go forward a wee bit in time. Noah Donahue. That's it. Let's go through There's an inquest about that at the moment. So there is. That's another. We actually covered that one week. We actually looked into that one week. I hate saying this. It's a fascinating one because there's so much was buried there as well. There was so much buried there as well, you know? Right. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to, this is actually a well-known case. And this is actually in Northern Ireland now. We're going to Northern Ireland now. Even though Donegal, Tim, I don't know if you're aware of, Donegal is in the north of Ireland, but it is classed as Southern Ireland. It's just well the borders and all, whatever. So now we're going to look at a case. And I'm taking a risk doing this because this case is a bit controversial as well. Now, some images in this video that you're going to see shows paramilitary paraphernalia, so I am warning you, but it's just part of the story. It's nothing to do with me, right? This is the case of Lisa Dorian. Now, Lisa Dorian went missing from a caravan park in Ballyhalbert. Now, if anybody doesn't know where Ballyhalbert is, Ballyhalbert, I don't know where it is either. It's Bangor, isn't it? Is that Bangor? Because it's near Bangor. My geography's horrendous. Ballyhalbert was a caravan site, and this girl went to this caravan site and basically went missing. And she's never been seen since. There is, at the moment, still a £20,000 reward for any information about what happened to this girl. And there's nothing. I do have some updates up to 2024. Where are we here? As he says, yeah, way past Malay. Yes, that's right. Ballyhalbert's Arch Peninsula near Malay and Grey Abbey, yeah. So this my nanny had a caravan there. I think everybody had a caravan down there, Carrie, at one stage. I know other family members used to have caravans down there. It's a lovely place. It's a nice place, you know. But these caravan sites, and I'm just going to say something here very, very carefully here without offending anybody. Some of these caravan sites can get a bit of a reputation for parties, and they can get a better reputation for different things or whatever, you know. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this story. This isn't a very long video, I don't think. What did we say? No, it's not. So this is the story of Lisa Dorian, and then I'm going to read out a couple of updates up to 2024, 2025 actually is the last one. So here's the story of Lisa Dorian, and we'll do the same. We'll just pause and we'll go through it. So here we go.
Beautiful young woman vanishes without a trace. 20 years on, and still the case remains unsolved. Who killed Lisa Dorian? Welcome to Vanished Voices UK, your new favourite spot for curious missing persons cases, true crime stories, and in-depth investigations.
This is frozen. Hold on a minute, folks. Hold on,
a
folks.
20-year search for answers. The disappearance of Lisa Dorian.
Okay.
In late February 2005, 25-year-old Lisa Dorian vanished from a caravan park in Ballyhalbert, County Down. Within days, the police had declared her disappearance a murder investigation. More than 20 years later, no one has been charged, and her body has never been found. In this video, we'll walk through every verified fact, Lisa's background, her last confirmed movements, how the police pursued leads, the theories that endure, and why her case remains unsolved. Lisa Dorian was 25 years old at the time of her disappearance in February 2005. She was born and raised in Bangor, County Down. She worked part-time as a shop assistant, supporting herself while planning her future. In summer 2004, Lisa ended a 4-year relationship with her boyfriend Jamie Mills. After the breakup, she began socialising with a new circle of friends. This group was known to use recreational drugs, primarily ecstasy and amphetamines, and press reports later noted that some of her suppliers were allegedly linked to local paramilitary networks. Despite these associations, Lisa had concrete plans for the future. She intended to invest approximately £50,000, compensation that she had received from a personal injury claim, into purchasing and operating a jet ski rental business in southern Spain. This investment represented her desire to move beyond her current circumstances and establish a business of her own. Lisa's lifestyle in the months leading up to her disappearance reflected a mix of social ambition and vulnerability. She balanced her shop assistant job in Bangor with frequent outings across the Ards Peninsula pubs, notably the Saltwater Brig and Lock and Key. Though Lisa was described by those close to her as ambitious and determined, her growing involvement with people in local drug scenes exposed her to risks that she may not have fully appreciated. By February 2005, she had positioned herself between her day-to-day work in Bangor and her aim of launching her business in Spain, yet neither goal would come to fruition after that fateful weekend in Ballyholbert. On Saturday the 26th of February 2005, Lisa spent the afternoon and early evening in the Ards Peninsula, moving between an off-licence in Portavogie, the Saltwater Brig pub near Kirkcudbright, and the Lock and Key pub also near Kirkcudbright. On Saturday the 27th of February 2005, after a house party in Ballyholbert, Lisa and a group of friends went to an after-party inside a caravan at the Ballyholbert Caravan Park. Witnesses confirmed that by around 10 p.m, only Lisa and 17-year-old Mark Lovett, who was the caravan park groundsman, remained inside a single caravan, both reportedly under the influence of recreational drugs. On Monday the 28th of February at around 5 a.m, Lisa was allegedly seen by Mark Lovett walking away from the caravan park. However, her handbag, jacket and mobile phone were still inside the caravan. In early March of the same year, Lisa's family discovered that she had not returned home in Bangor by the first week of March and contacted the police. On the 6th of March, Lisa's family made a first appeal. Police stated that they could not rule out foul play at this stage. On the 10th of March, police arrested 2 men in County Antrim in relation to the inquiry. Both were released after 24 hours. On the 13th of March, police formally declared Lisa's disappearance as a murder investigation. In Ballyholbert, graffiti appeared linking the Loyalist volunteer force to her disappearance. This was an allegation that the LVF denied. On the 14th of June, an 18-year-old man was arrested by police in the Greater Belfast area on suspicion of involvement, but he also was released without charge. Lisa Dorian's disappearance was formally treated as a murder investigation by the police on the 13th of March 2005, only 9 days after she was last seen. Detective Superintendent Jason Murphy took charge of the inquiry. Police officers immediately conducted door-to-door inquiries throughout Ballyholbert and surrounding villages, asking residents for any information about Lisa's movements or any unusual activity on the night of the 27th or the 28th of February. The caravan where Lisa was last known to be was thoroughly forensically examined. Investigators found no visible blood or bodily fluids inside. Based on the absence, the police believed that Lisa was likely strangled or suffocated rather than sustaining an open wound injury. In the early hours of the 28th of February, a mobile phone record shows that Mark Lovett's phone was located in Ballyholbert. A CCTV review of footage from local pubs, the Saltwater Brig and Lock and Key, was undertaken. In February 2024, police released footage from the 26th of February covering these venues. They were hoping that viewers might identify Lisa's companions or recall relevant details. Mark Lovett was arrested in October 2005 on suspicion of murder. He denied involvement and was released without charge. He has not cooperated with subsequent requests for information. Interestingly, Mark had called Lisa's phone in the early hours of that morning. However, Stevie Thompson, Lisa's ex, answered as he had bought the phone and allegedly Lisa had given it back to him after the breakup. Police used phone call data to place Lisa's ex-boyfriend Stevie Thompson in Ballywalter on the early hours of the 28th of February. He was interviewed but subsequently eliminated from inquiries, as there was no evidence linking him to foul play. Adam Smith, who was the brother of a local criminal figure, was also questioned in 2007 during a separate arrest for an unrelated stabbing. He had been previously interviewed in relation to Lisa's disappearance, but was released without charge.
Carrie just said there they weren't in the bar on the CCTV that long, I remember correctly, and Tim's asking Tracy is she still there. One thing I will say about that CCTV, and I'm going to say something here, it might sound really, really silly. That image of Lisa is very, very clear, especially the black and white one. Usually these CCTVs, you have to have a bloody magnifying glass to work out what's going on in them. But that was a clear, clear image over there, you know.
This next section will look at theories
Beautiful girl
around Lisa's case. It is important to remember that none of these theories have been proven at this time. As mentioned previously, investigators found no visible blood or bodily fluids in the caravan, leading them to conclude that Lisa was likely strangled or suffocated, rather than injured by an open wound assault. Because there were no forensic traces of a struggle, some press outlets and police statements suggest that the killer cleaned the scene before disposing of her body. This scenario implies that the perpetrator either acted quickly to avoid detection or had assistance in removing all evidence of violence. Multiple sources, including a 2005 Daily Mirror report and a 2015 prison interview with convicted criminal Jimmy Seals, claim that Lisa owed up to £20,000 to a local drug dealer for ecstasy and amphetamines. In that interview, Seals alleged that Lisa's killers knew about the £50,000 compensation that she was about to receive and saw an opportunity to seize those funds. He also stated that he sold a van used to transport Lisa's body, then assisted in placing her remains inside an oil drum before burying it near Ballygowan.
Oh my God.
No searchers ever confirmed the presence of an oil drum or any remains at Ballygowan, and the police have not publicly corroborated Seals' account. Although the authorities have never officially confirmed the £50,000 itself was stolen, investigators acknowledge that Lisa's intention to use the compensation to leave Northern Ireland made her a potential target. Within days of the declaration of a murder inquiry, graffiti appeared in Ballyhalbert linking the Loyalist volunteer force to Lisa's disappearance. The LVF publicly denied any involvement, claiming the graffiti was a deliberate attempt to mislead investigators and stoke fear in the community. In April 2019, DS Jason Murphy explicitly stated that they had found no credible evidence linking any paramilitary group to Lisa's disappearance, effectively discounting this theory. In the same April 2019 update, investigators clarified that they believe a single perpetrator killed Lisa inside the caravan, then enlisted a close family member to help remove and conceal her body. Investigators emphasised that given a complete absence of remains, Lisa's body was likely hidden by someone with inside knowledge of local terrain. This theory accounts for why no physical evidence has been found despite multiple searches of likely disposal areas. This next section looks at some of the unanswered questions in Lisa's case. What exactly happened inside that caravan? As discussed previously, Lisa and Mark Lovett were the only two occupants in the caravan between around 10 PM on the 27th of February and 5 AM on the 28th. No witnesses come forward to describe what may have transpired during those hours, and forensic examinations of the caravan found no visible blood or bodily fluids, suggesting any assault was either carried out without Lisa losing blood, or that the scene was thoroughly cleaned. Why did no one hear or see a struggle? Approximately a dozen people attended that after party earlier on the 27th of February, yet none reported hearing any commotion or disturbance coming from the caravan after 10 PM.
And it just brings me into what Carrie says there. Anyone who's been on a caravan site knows everyone else's business on the site. So someone must have saw or heard something, surely. And Tracy says here, wonder why they think it was only two people. And Minnie's just said there, Carrie, you're right. It doesn't matter what time of the year, there's always someone on site, and there's always CCTV cameras. So let's carry on.
Witnesses later stated that the park was quiet in the early hours of the 28th. No shouts or sounds that might indicate a violent act were mentioned. The absence of any eyewitness accounts of violence remains unexplained. Either the perpetrator acted extremely quietly, or the other attendees had already completely left the area before an assault occurred. What was discussed during Lovett's early morning phone call? During the early hours of the 28th, Mark Lovett's phone pinged in Ballyhalbert. While investigators know that this pin placed him in the village, the content of his call to a friend who was reportedly Stevie Thompson remains a bit of a mystery. It is alleged that he was incoherent and suggested he was seeing things before ending the call. It remains unclear whether Lovett was speaking while alone. That call's details, the timing, location of the device, and any background noise could offer crucial insight, but the authorities have not released any transcript or recording. Where and how was Lisa's body disposed of? Theories include a claim by Jimmy Seals that Lisa's remains were placed in an oil drum and buried near Ballygowan. The police have conducted searches in areas around Ballygowan and other likely rural locations. Despite those efforts and advances in ground-penetrating radar, no human remains have ever been recovered. If the oil drum claim is accurate,
I think generally he's just withdrew the case, or whatever he can get his hands on there. And these are speculations, of what could have happened. Because Minnie says, can I ask where he's getting his information from? Is this all online or public records? But I think generally these are speculations of what might have happened. These are theories, because nobody knows. Just nobody knows.
Questions remain. Why have search techniques failed to locate it? Does paramilitary intimidation still prevent eyewitnesses from speaking? As discussed previously, graffiti appeared in Ballyhalbert shortly after the 13th of March, accusing the Loyalist Volunteer Force of being responsible. An April 2019 police update explicitly stated that there was no credible evidence linking this group to Lisa's disappearance. Despite the official position, many local residents still believe that the fear of paramilitary retaliation has kept potential witnesses silent. No witness has publicly alleged personal intimidation, but the close-knit nature of these communities make it impossible to rule out. Why has there been no breakthrough after 20 years? Authorities have pursued more than 3,500 lines of inquiry, including interviews, searches of rural areas, forensic retests, and multiple CCTV reviews. No arrests have led to charges, and no physical evidence such as DNA or remains have ever emerged. Investigators emphasise that the combination of a likely quick, quiet killing, possibly accomplice assistance, and remote disposal methods has made it extremely difficult to locate conclusive proof. On the 20th anniversary in February 2025, police and Lisa's family launched a renewed appeal via BBC's Crime Watch Live, offering a £20,000 reward for information leading to a conviction. The investigation remains open and unsolved. The police continue to appeal for any new information.
Again, she's a lovely girl, isn't she?
Lisa's sister, Joanne Dorian, has become a public voice for the family's ongoing search. In February 2021, Joanne told the Irish Independent she remains haunted by her sister's disappearance and urged the person responsible to do the right thing. Each year, Joanne and other family members hold a small remembrance gathering on the 28th of February, marking the date Lisa was last seen. They've placed Lisa's name on their mother's gravestone in Bangor, ensuring that her memory remains centred in the family home. Family-led social media groups, such as Find Lisa Dorian on Facebook, regularly share police appeals, reward updates and anniversary messages, aiming to keep public attention alive.
I'll come to your comments in a minute.
The Dorian family describes their 2 decades of uncertainty as living in a state of never-ending limbo. They say everyday milestones such as birthdays and weddings carry a persistent ache, knowing Lisa could not share them. Local missing persons support groups in Northern Ireland reference Lisa's case as emblematic of long-term no-closure trauma, using her story in awareness drives to encourage other families to persist in seeking justice. Lisa Dorian has been missing for over 20 years. and despite extensive inquiries, her body has never been found and no one has been charged. If you have any information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, it could be crucial in solving this case. Please contact the Police Service of Northern Ireland, call 101 quoting Operation Submerge, reference MW0426/05.
And I'm just going to keep that up there for a minute while I catch up here. Tracy says it's absolutely heartbreaking. Do you know, so, as I say, I keep saying she's such a beautiful girl. You know, we all make mistakes. You know, we've all made mistakes in life. We do go, some of us go through down wrong paths, me being one of them, with my history of addiction and stuff, you know, and she did have plans. Did we ever find out what happened to the £50,000? Did she actually receive that? Or compensation, or was that yet to be paid out? That's an interesting question I'd like to know. Then he says, okay, fair enough, I understand about that, but why I don't understand is why he's fixated the crimes of Northern Ireland, and especially I've not heard of this one either. Many, this has been a massive one here. Sometimes many you find with media, pardon me, you know, if you're like, obviously I know you live in London there, you know, sometimes you'll not hear as much as we would on the local cases. Maybe there's cases, some things happen in London or on the mainland the Jews would hear about, and we would maybe only get a taster about, you know, we don't hear it all. Carrie says, this one's massive. Many says, now that I've got to start investigating about these crimes back home because I love true crime, especially when it's close to home. Carrie says, I remember seeing billboards when it happened on certain anniversaries, was on the news every night. Carrie says something else there. We had a caravan in the 1990s, and our site had a reception/gate to go through to get in or out. The site manager did rounds in a Jeep. I remember that. The gates were locked at a certain time. And Tim for Life has just said there, I remember seeing this case on Crime Watch. Now I'm going to read a couple of things out here. Mightn't make any sense, but this is just basically the latest of what I picked up of what's happened. Many says, oh no, I'm up to date with all what's going on with Northern Ireland because she's got RTE and BBC Northern Ireland. I'm always back home, yeah. So yes, as I say, I've never heard of any of these. Okay. So I'm just going to read a couple out here. So in December the 25th, so that's not right. December 2025, right? On the 8th of December 2025, a 68-year-old man was arrested by the PSNI's major investigation team on suspicion of several offences, including murder, assisting offenders, withholding information, and preventing a lawful decent burial. And this is connected to Lisa as well. He was later released. He was reported to be a prisoner already serving time for other violent crimes. But for this, he was released without any following questions. 20th anniversary of Peel 2025 in February to mark 20 years since Lisa disappeared from Ballyhalbert. Police released previously unseen CCTV footage of her final hours. New information in February 2025, the family revealed that 6 people had come forward with new information in the 24 hours surrounding the 20th anniversary of Peel. Ongoing search and reward. Despite over 400 searches, including land and sea, her body has not been found. A reward of £20,000 remains available through Crime Stoppers for information leading to the recovery of her body or any conviction of those responsible. The family continues to campaign for justice, having added Lisa's name to her mother's headstone. They've actually added her to her mother's headstone, her name to her mother's headstone, to honor her memory while they wait for her return. Why the hell have the PSNI released videos now from 20 years ago when they should have been released? Many don't, because we have had this before. We had this with the Noah Donahue case. You know, there was a special order was taken. I have to be very careful what I say about this because obviously it's in court at the moment. But there was a special order was taken out about Noel Donohue's case, that nothing was to be released. Everything was all quieting down. There's a certain name for it, but I can't remember what it is. And that was brought out. Nothing was allowed to be discussed about that either. It's just unbelievable, you know. So there you go. There's a girl there. Yes, she did have difficulties. Yes, she did have problems because of the company she was keeping. Absolutely, as you just don't know. You know, as I say, I've got history of addiction, and whatever. I'm not blaming anybody else on that. You know, it was my addiction, it was my doing. But you know, having people around you like that, you know, sort of basically didn't help me, and other influences as well. But that girl did have a wee bit of drive still going in her life. She wanted to open her business. What I want to know is, well, we've got a case going on at the moment about a drag queen in Cardiff. I don't know if you've seen it. Yes, I see it mentioned this morning, Minnie. It says, but why, I wonder, because there's a lot being held back, poor Noah. Now, again, what I would like to know is, this might have nothing to do with it or anything. Was she paid the £50,000? And if so, where did it go? But if she didn't, I'm actually glad in a way, because somebody else might have got it. That's what I'd like to know. Was that compensation of £50,000 ever paid out? And if it did, where did it go? If it didn't, thank God. Because whoever, whatever happened here or whatever's going on, they maybe would have got it, you know? No, I haven't heard what that's about. Well, if she paid the 50,000 to a pound, that'll be on public record, so it'll be out there somewhere. We'll just try to find out. Carrie saying no, she hasn't heard about the drag queen one. I think I heard something about it this morning. Every certain seconds of the day, somebody goes missing in the UK and around the world. It's just absolutely shocking. This is the third time we have did a night like this. I think another case that really, really stands out to me, if anybody was in that night, was Stephen. Stephen was a guy who, when he was a child, had an accident and he ended up disabled. And him and his mum went out for a walk. And on their way back, they decided to go to the public loo. And his mum went into the ladies and he went into the gents. And the mum came out and waited, and he never came out. This is a bit controversial again, because we had a controversial discussion about this. Like, what would you have done? Would you have went in? Because he never came out of the toilet. I'm afraid I'd have been in, if he had been a man or not. I'd have been in to see if he was all right. But she assumed that he had left the toilet and walked home. And he hadn't. And he's never been seen again. This is unbelievable. And he says, it's absolutely shocking how people go missing into thin air. It's very scary, Emma says. And Carrie says, Stephen was a really standout one. Just vanished from the loo. I'm sorry, my mummy would have been straining if I had been out from the toilet. Yeah, this is, he was an adult, Minnie. He actually was, what was Tracy say? Very interesting, but sad. Yes, Tracy. And that's why, even though it's interesting and sad, another reason why I'm doing this is I know the Facebook group's private, but YouTube's not. You know what I mean? Anybody could see this. And something could just trigger something. You just don't know. What was his name? Stephen somebody. Can anybody remember what that fellow was called? But it was over in England, and as I say, him and his mum, they went for a walk, and they got tired. They needed to go to the toilet. So they stopped the toilet. His mum went into the ladies. He went into the gents. She came out. There was two men standing outside with a young child. One man went into the toilet first himself, because obviously they had a young girl child. And then the other man went into the toilet, was left with the girl child. So his mum stayed, and Stephen never came out. Now, his mum had assumed that he'd just taken himself to walk home, because that's what he was like. He was very, very headstrong. and he just decided to walk off. And away he went. And his mum, now, if I was standing outside that toilet, she said that she did not want to go into the toilet because he was not a child. He was an adult. Stephen Clark, thank you, Carrie. She didn't want to go into the toilet because he was an adult and she didn't want to embarrass him. Now, again, I'm not blaming the mother, even though her and the father later on were arrested for his murder, but there was no they were let go in the end anyway. If you want to learn more about that story, you can either look the story up on YouTube or you can actually go to the Chatterhouse's YouTube channel. Tracy, you were in that night. We were watching that too. I remember that. If you go to the Chatterhouse's YouTube channel and go to the live events, you'll see the night that we did that, because we did that story and another story about a young guy in Dublin who went for a night out. And you see him coming out of the nightclub and he was never seen again. It's frightening, folks. We've also did a night about Andrew Gosden. There you go. Lee's just said there about Stephen. They allegedly went for a walk together, but no one remembers seeing them. So what does that say? Again, I have to stand back and whatever. But if you want to go to the Chatterhouse's YouTube channel and go to the live events, you'll see the night we've done that. And we also did the night about Andrew Gosden. Andrew Gosden is a frightening one. Just very quickly, Andrew was a very bright child. Very bright child. One day, his father, mother, everybody went to work. Andrew pretended to go to school. And basically, he waited till everybody went to work. And when they went out, he returned to the house, got changed out of his uniform, got changed into his clothes, went to the train station, got a one-way ticket, and the last ever sighting of him was getting off the train at King's Cross Station. I think that was 2006, and that's the case of Andrew Gosden. And I have actually spoke to Kevin Gosden, his father, because he was actually supposed to come into the Chatterhouse to speak to us about Andrew going missing, but unfortunately he wasn't well. And as I say, Gary says, was that in the red car? It says, yes, it was. So that's another story that we covered as well. Just before I go, folks, I just want to remind you all that these are real people we're talking about here. I'm not doing this for a gossip. I'm not doing this for scandal. Hopefully someone out there will know something. Maybe somebody on YouTube will look at this and see something. You just don't know. You just don't know. But I will be doing more. Now, just before I go, there's a wee guy who was on Chatter. It was a Natter House. Actually, it was the old Natter House called Matthew Clemson. And Matthew had brought out 3 books about mysterious deaths and murders and whatever. But Andrew has just released another book. And coincidentally, it's about living families of the missing people, behind the stories of what families go through of these people who are missing, the likes of Andrew's father, Kevin, because he interviewed him. All these people are living with us every day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Matthew back because his new book's just out. And we're going to discuss what's it like for these families to go through this. So that'll be coming up soon as well. Well, folks, thanks for joining me tonight. Again, as Tracy says, good night, Tracy. As Tracy says, very interesting, but very, very, very sad. Don't forget, folks, we are back. Matthew's book sounds interesting. He's just got a new one out, Carrie. It was just released yesterday. And he's already been in touch with me. So there's our Wilson. He says good night. Okay, folks, so don't forget, Andy Lyon's going to be back. Thanks for this. It's definitely very interesting. Good night, everyone. Good night, Essay. Don't forget, folks, Auntie Alien's going to be back on Friday night. We check it out on the Alien at 8 o'clock. Good night, Stuart. Another great night, and everyone in the Charterhouse, our Tim says. And then don't forget, next Wednesday, we are back with Breastmates, which is the charity connected to breast cancer in both men and women, and diagnosis and what services and support is out there. Well, thanks very much for joining me tonight. Take care. See you all soon. And enjoy what's left of the night even. See you later.